stated that every experience we have, every experience, and everything that we are confronted with, all of it is a product of our own consciousness. Can we take our responsibility like that? Can we accept that as a fact? And to the extent, this is what I love about this, to the extent that we open our minds to how this divine process works, to that extent will our manifestations be determined. It's up to us. It's always up to us. And what is so empowering, I think, for September is that we're talking about this. We're opening ourselves up, that we have a direct communication, a direct line with the CEO of the universe, which is who we are. And that in participating through this, we call this during September affirmations. And what's an affirmation? Mystics say it's just our agreement. It's our agreement to source energy of what we really want to experience in our lives. It's always about us. And so this beautiful, what I call mysterious power that we are, we have the authority and the power and the skills to open up into it. I like to, this morning I can't walk, I'm sorry, I'm not going to carry this around. I thought this morning what we could do is compare this to the cell phone. Right, something, you know. Each of us at the third dimensional level have a wireless communication, a wireless connection to everything in the third dimension, every person in the third dimension. We can talk to people all over the world. And we can also, of course, we can text message and do it through nonverbal communication. We have that ability. And I was thinking about this morning. Just Friday, I was able to communicate with Australia. We have a center in Australia. I was able to, at that same day, communicate with our center in London. And Neil Mintz, the Reverend there, wanted to know if there's some way that we can kind of empower ourselves in Europe. Of course, that's all I need to do is talk to Bob and Stella. We've got it done. But anyway, the bottom line is we have this wireless connection at the third degree level. But we also have that same wireless connection to the dimension of all possibilities. We need to embrace it and say, this is what we have. We have that. And it's through our processes of thinking. But it's not only the words and the thoughts. It's a lot more than that. It's the emotions, the feelings. That's what the prayer is itself. My fantasy took the best of me this morning around 4. I thought, you know what's kind of neat about all that is this spiritual cell phone wireless connection that we have, you can't get busted for using it while you're driving on 41. This is cool, man. I can use my wireless connection and not get busted. And I went into fantasy and I thought, oh gosh. So the CHP stopped me and I looked at the guy and I said, but officer, what did I do? He said, I caught you thinking. As we get into this today, I think what we need to really consider as we look at this whole idea, this whole process, it's not the words and the thoughts, my gosh. It's the emotion. It's how we feel. It's how we feel that creates that choice. And, you know, if we can just say, you know, I want to be this or I want to be that, but then I need to know, how do I feel about that? How does it feel to be this or to be that? And I've got stories about Craig. He's a pilot. I love to do pilot stories because I'm a pilot. And this pilot named Craig was asked by his boss to take him from a city in New York to New Jersey. And Syracuse, New York, I've never been there, I have no idea what it's like, or Leesburg, Virginia, but Craig said, you know, that's a piece of cake, we can do it. In fact, I can have it back by summertime. And so he said, but I only have one concern, and my concern is on the Appalachians right now, there's a lot of thunderstorms and thunder cells going on, and so we'll have to have the ATC, the air traffic controller, kind of guide us and lead us along the way. He said, but that's no big deal, we can do that. So he gets on the plane and they take off, and sure enough, the air traffic controller took over the plane, and all the electronics in the plane was in unison, and they were guided around these thunderstorms and these cells. And all of a sudden, and it was on, he had it on autopilot, all of a sudden, all the electronics goes dead. It was as if somebody had pulled the plug on the electronics. And I don't know if you've, some of you maybe pilots, but when that goes, the transponder that gets you onto the radar system, the communication with the people who are driving the ATC, it's all gone. And then all of a sudden the plane started taking a nosedive. And Craig, you know, being an experienced pilot, and the headphones were working, so he yelled at Bob. He said, "Bob, we've got problems here." So they're going down, and being an experienced pilot, he got it leveled off. And then he said this, through emotion, energized Bob. "I could use some help down here." He was talking to the divine. He was putting a command into spirit. He was exercising that which he is, a very powerful, creative, self-contained human being, a dynamo. "I could use some help down here. Send me angels or what have you so that I can have a landing." He was not in fear. He was not in doubt. He was putting his order in through emotions. And what happened? Almost like, talk about miracles. The clouds opened up. And he could see mountains. And then he told Bob this. He says, "Bob, I checked the circuit breakers. There's no reason for our electronics to be out, but they're out. We can't go west because that's where the mountains are. I don't know what's to the east, but I do know we could go to the south." So he went to bank to go to the south, bank to the right, and it was as if there was a weight on his left wing, and he couldn't turn the plane. He couldn't bank, and the plane decided to go east. And he looked at the gyroscope, "We're going east." And he tried to fight it, it was no use. So he allowed the plane to have its own way. It's crazy. But, you know, at that point of helplessness is when it all happened. When he released his conditioned mind, and he just allowed it all to happen. So anyway, sure enough, they're flying along, and Bob was looking for an airport, and there's a small landing strip, a small airport, right there. And so they landed safely. The very next day, Bob said, looked at the maps, and he realized it was the only airport anywhere near the region, and Spirit, that source energy, led him there. Is that America or what? No, I don't think so. It's business as usual. You know, when we embrace that which we are, you don't have to call it miracles any longer. It's just business as usual to have our desires met. Our feelings and our emotions ignite what I call the energy field of intention. It's mysterious. We have no idea what makes it work. I know Plotinus and Plato, they try to tell us how, that we create these spiritual prototypes and that it manifests whatever we put up there. But we don't know how it all works, but we know it works. And I love Lynn McTaggart. I had a chance to meet her at one of our conferences. My gosh, that girl's awesome. You know, she's not a scientist. She's an author. She's a journalist. But she wrote The Field. How many of you read The Field? What an awesome